Welcome to Stadium BS. For more information, check out www.castellonms.com.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're around the world. No, this is not Barry White. This is Frankie Castellon, the host of Stadium BS. Take a look at my website, www.castellonms.com. That is CASTELLONMS.com, where it's everything Frankie, including the kitchen sink and my hair follicles. Now, the reason why I am sounding very hoarse today is because the last few days have been terrible when it comes to freaking being sick again and again and again. And I'm very prone to being sick, especially when it comes to having flu-like symptoms, having coughs, having colds. It sucks when you get older. That's all I'm going to say. So, with that being said, with that's pushed aside, I wanted to introduce you to my first sponsor, which is the Strong Coffee Company. Elevate your coffee routine with Strong Coffee Company's Black Instant Blend and Lattes. Both feature organic coffee, protein, MCTs, and adaptogens for sustained energy and mental clarity. Enjoy an exclusive discount with my promo code. My promo code is StadiumBS. StadiumBS, all one word. If you see it on the screen on YouTube, you will get 20% off any item there is on the site for the Strong Coffee Company. So 20% off any item. Use the code StadiumBS for the Strong Coffee Company. The best way to start your day. Before I go any further, there's going to be a list of headlines that I definitely want to cover from last week that we're pushing on. And part of it's regards to the World Baseball Classic. Part of it is sports business related, things that you didn't know that you need to know when it comes to the world of sports business, baseball, and just very informative things before I bring up Chip Allen of the Coastal Plain League. Let's get started. First headline I got. If you don't know who Justin Ishbia is, now you're going to know. He is going to be the future owner of the Chicago White Sox. He is brother to another Ishbia who owns the Phoenix Suns. I don't remember his name. But they're jumping into sports. They are billionaires in their right mind, and they own private equity firms. So the reason why I'm bringing him up is because he has a signed agreement with Jerry Reinsdorf, who is the current owner of the Chicago White Sox. If you don't know who he is, he owned not only the White Sox, but the Bulls. He is the one that basically threatened to move to St. Pete, Florida. And on the 11th hour, they decided to build Rate Field. He's also the mastermind behind the 6-time world champion Chicago Bulls. He owned both. And at 90 plus years old, he hasn't skipped a beat. So he did an agreement with Ishbia saying that he can get control of the franchise by 2034. So that's 8 years away. But Reinsdorf has the option to sell the franchise as early as 2029. And also, that depends if he dies or not, that he takes over the franchise. That the Reinsdorf family will sell the franchise over to him. So, without missing a beat, he is actually investing in buying the South Loop Rail Yard, which is the Amtrak train yard next to the 78. Now, if you don't know what the 78 is, the 78 is a plot of land of just grass right at the downtown skyline. and they were originally trying to get a ballpark there. But with financing, public money involved in the city of Chicago, it was a no no. So the Chicago Fire, who is the soccer team, the MLS team in Chicago, they jumped on it on the 78 in order to build their soccer stadium, privately funded. You get where I'm going with this. So since that went out of the question, they decided to go across the river to the rail yard. And that's where Ishbia is buying that property to do a mixed use development, adding a hospital to it, etc., etc., etc. And the thing is, this is all great and all, but is the city going to help? I don't know. Is this going to be another Arlington Heights situation where the Bears bought the property? The Chicago Bears, the NFL team, they they built, they bought that land, but they could not get public funding for it. So now they're looking at other options. They tried the city, next to Soldier Field, financing could not go through. Then after that, now they're going to Indiana. They're going to Gary, Indiana, or wherever Indiana, like pretty much at the border, which is becoming an ongoing trend. They're not even going to be in their cities anymore. They're going to be in like wherever the nearest that'll be willing to finance this. You could see that with the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City now, Kansas. So it's become an ongoing trend. I'm like the first one I could think of right off the back that did that was the Giants and Jets, and they moved cross state lines to New Jersey, but they're still the Giants and Jets, even though it's in New Jersey. This is going to be an ongoing trend. So wait and see on that one because I don't know if this is going to happen or not. It might not, but it has a lot to do with public funding. So let's see how that goes. Wish them luck. But if this doesn't happen, look for the White Sox doing the same thing the Bears are doing. I never thought that the Rays would be the last team to have a jersey sponsor patch. And this is a very unique way to have a sponsor patch, in my opinion. I'm like, I think everyone else will think the same way I do. And I've been predicting this for a while. I was thinking Dreamfinders Homes with Zalupski or Publix, which is a very popular grocery store in Florida. I love it here in South Carolina. But listen to this. So the online brokerage firm Webull, which is similar to like an E-Trade type of deal, you can invest in cryptocurrency, you can invest in different companies, and they'll, you know, diversify your portfolio. That's pretty much what it is, which I didn't even know about, but here we are. This sponsorship patch is very unique, and I'm going to tell you why. Is because they're actually using the roof, the old roof that was ripped off by Hurricane Milton, using that material as the patch. You heard that right. The Webull sponsorship patch is actually made from the roof of Tropicana Field when it was blown off by Hurricane Milton. Unbelievable. And here's the better part. You could actually get one of these at the Bay Republic, either in store or online, which I've never heard of before. Normally, they'll have these sponsor patches when you go to the game, but you can buy it online. I'm not promoting this because I'm not paying $170 for a jersey, but hey, it's there. Check it. Oh, see, I'm gonna have to go back to talking about prediction marketing again. I have to talk about it because you know what? It's going to be hellfire and brimstone with this. Arizona Attorney General files criminal charges against Cauchy over illegal gambling. Long story short, you could bet on anything. You could bet on politics. You could bet on religion. You could bet on a war. You could bet on the coming of Jesus Christ. Watch the prediction marketing episode I did. So, Arizona Attorney General, he wanted to show who's boss, saying this is illegal. Why is this not regulated in states? It's a federal regulation by what's his face? What's this dude's name? Oh my god. What was his name? It was something Seelig. And I can't remember the damn name. Michael Seelig. It has to be on a federal level. It will be federally regulated. It will be done by the Trump administration. Any type of regulations. Now, mind you, Trump's sons invested in Polymarket, also having consulting ideas for Kalshi. You do the math of how much money they're making, and it's getting worse and worse. And I'm like, even people are receiving death threats, like an Israel reporter about what they reported. They were because they were betting on who got killed in the Iranian war that's going to be happening in no time, that they're bringing in 2,000 freaking Marines. Uh, Jesus Christ. It's like, listen to this. Listen to this, okay? Per the article. And it'll be all on castonms.com. This week, a Israeli journalist said that he received a barrage of death threats after polymarket traders, try gamblers, pressured him to change details in a story about an Iranian bombing so the bettors who wagered on whether it's a missile, a drone, or something else could cash out. This is not going to end well. It's not. And if you're listening to this and you have a gambling problem, 1-800 might reset. You'll see it on my site, castlonms.com. There should be no excuse for this shit. I'm proud of the Arizona Attorney General stepping up to this, because this is going to be in a world of hurt for a lot of people in every walk of life. Speaking of prediction marketing, guess who is getting involved with prediction marketing, making a sponsorship deal with Polymarket, Major League Baseball. God help me. So you could predict how the ERA is for Otani. You could predict what the batting average is for Aaron Judge. You could do a pitch count bet on Paul Skeens. I know you could do this probably with DraftKings or FanDuel, whatever, but this is going to get more and more out of hand as time goes on. And mind you, it's federally regulated, not state, federal. So, who makes the rules on this one? The Trump administration, unfortunately. And it's just going down a rabbit hole. And I do all this because I love the game of baseball. And I enjoyed the World Baseball Classic. I took in some games, I watched some highlights, and I was happy that Venezuela won. It was great for their country, great for their pride, and you saw a lot of pride in those stadiums. What I'm showing you is a picture of when I went to the World Baseball Classic. I went in 2006 at the Wide World of Sports in Orlando, and I also went to the 2013 World Baseball Classic in Marlins Park in Miami, now Lone Depot Park. And these were games that weren't really cared about because of who was playing. The one above was Australia versus Italy. No one cared about it until now because they're becoming huge contenders. They're growing the game in both countries. And then the one below it was I'm gonna call it an exhibition match, because the pools and the pools and semifinals and finals and all that were set. So I don't even know why they played this game, but I got to witness it because both the Dominican and Puerto Rico were getting ready to hit to the finals in San Francisco. And I don't know why they played this game, but look at the crowd. And this is, I think, mid game.
Not a lot of people there because it wasn't really that popular. The only thing that was popular in Miami in 2013 was the Ultra Music Festival, which pretty much had like a live aid audience. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people at a park, and they were doing a rave and all that shit. That's where all the traffic came from, not for this. But record numbers. They had the most not only in Puerto Rico, they had the most in Houston, they had the most in Miami, and they had the most in Japan. They were huge. Huge numbers, sold out crowds. Everyone wanted to see this competitive baseball, which I'm happy about. And it leads me to find out what's next.
With the success of the Four Nations hockey tournament replacing the All-Star game for the NHL, my take is for the new collective bargaining agreement for the ending of 2026 going on to 2027, there's a couple changes I would suggest. Random thought. One, I think the World Baseball Classic should be played in mid-July every 3 to 4 years, starting in 2029 or 2030. Two, and I'll give Sully credit to this one, and I'll tag him on this. I think, and he thinks, that the MLB players should participate in the 2028 Olympics in LA. It will set a milestone.
I predicted, and I predicted right. The conversation for mid-season for the World Baseball Classic is on the table. A lot of it's going to be talked about in that collective bargaining agreement at the end of the 26th season. So it's just to make more money and not have an all-star game. What does that do with players in mid-season form going into the postseason? What time frame should it be? Should it be in July? I'm like, I would throw May or June on the table because it'd still be early season. How would that work with a 162 game season? Would it help with time off? Would it hurt? That varies also in hockey. They had that with the Olympics. The NHL players did play and didn't recover good when they went back in season, but it's all to make money. I don't know what the repercussions will be with prediction marketing with having this mid-season, but I did predict this. Speaking of Summer Olympics, the CBA talks at the end of 26, which could potentially be a lockout happening, can also remedy the fact that if there is a lockout, there's going to be one stipulation in this that will happen if the terms do not come out at the right time. Bruce Mayer of the Major League Baseball Players Association, the union guy, the head guy of the union that replaced Tony Clark this year, said if you lose the 2027 season, it will eliminate big leaguers from the 2028 Olympics. That is bold. That is bold, bold, bold. And I'm for this, especially with having a salary cap and whatnot. Now you're gonna expect them to be in mid-season form, let's say for the World Baseball Classic, for the Olympics, for other things, and you already got games that are out of the realm internationally. So why not add this to the mix? It's happening with the NFL, it's happening with hockey, it's happening with basketball, and it's going to do more wear and tear than good for the players. So one of the reasons why is because since they make so much money, then they have to have top line everything, top line jets, they top line hotel accommodations and all that. Everything had to be top notch for these major league players. So they don't see them being in the dormitory. This is actually in this article on ESPN via the Associated Press. but there's more variables to this, and it has a lot to do with the wear and tear of athletes. So we'll see how that goes. Speaking of world competitions, we talked about the Olympics. We talked about the World Baseball Classic. You know what? I'll jump sports. Why don't we talk about the 2026 World Cup in the Americas? Canada, Mexico, United States. They already selected the sites for them. The closest to me is Atlanta, which I'm not even going to touch with a 10-foot pole. But they're accommodating the World Cup left and right, and their political aside, they're going to do everything in order to make this game work, despite of all the financial issues with cities. What they're getting back in return, it's a huge mess. But a picture reads thousand words. This is at a Toronto's BMO Stadium, which is the Major League Soccer club's stadium, and they're trying to extend seatings for the World Cup. This is what they built: a scaffolding. Yes, a scaffolding. That's all it is, with seats. This could be a deadly disaster, and I don't want to wish that on anybody to get on those seats because they will stomp, they will cheer, they will go crazy if their home country is playing. It could be the home team Canada, and they'll go nuts. I don't know how they're gonna do this, but this is the picture that you see here. I'm beyond words of how this is gonna happen. Thank you for listening to all my rant and raving. These are headlines that absolutely need to be addressed and why I'm pissed off at the games. Let's add soccer to the mix. But on a positive note, I'm gonna bring in Summer Collegiate Baseball's Coastal Plain League's commissioner, Chip Allen, on the show. It's a great conversation. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you on the next one. Good morning. Stadium BS is in the house. www.castellonms.com, where is everything Frankie, including my hair follicles. Anyway, I have Mr. Chip Allen, one of the commissioners from the Coastal Plain League. He is pretty much the leader, the Rob Manfred of this independent league that is surrounding the Southeast, which that's where I'm at. So I touched base with him, and now I have him on the show. Chip, how are you?
Great, Frankie. Thanks for having me on.
Now, as a person that is now newly getting into independent ball, there was a couple of reasons. One was the whole Oakland Ballers revolution when and I'm wearing the cap
See it.
and the cell. I'm wearing all of that because of what happened with the people of Oakland, with the A's, so on and so forth. And I've done rants and raves left and right in regards to their sudden departure and what sabotage it is. But a lot of the people that I've known through networking, through podcasting, etc., has always felt happier and more at ease going to an independent ball team. Surrounding in my area is really minor leagues. I have the Greenville Drive, I have the Spartanburgers. So I'm newly understanding this whole independent ball thing and how much freedom that players have.
Yeah.
So, Chip, tell me, how did the Coastal Plain League start?
Well, so a couple things first. So there's independent ball, and then there's collegiate wooden bat summer ball, and we fall
Okay.
into the collegiate wooden bat summer ball. Although independent ball is also making a push, particularly in the South. So
Gotcha.
there's that distinction. So we have college players that come in and play in our league for 2 months, 2.5 months, depending if you make the playoffs. Where independent, they're grinding it out. They're kind of like that single A mentality.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. I just didn't realize the difference. Yeah. So basically, any player that is in college that are playing baseball, let's say if they go to this university or that university, they have an opportunity to play in the summertime to
They
get
have to
more
be on a
experience.
varsity sport, right? They can't just, they have to be on a varsity sport. And then, yeah, absolutely. They are
Gotcha.
out to
Gotcha.
play.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
You know, think of Cape Cod League. You know,
Mhm.
that's probably the pinnacle of summer ball collegiate. So that's what most people think of. And we're probably a little bit different than they're structured. You
Mhm.
know, when I first took this job, everybody said, well, you gotta be the best college, collegiate league in the country.
Mhm.
I said, yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. Of course, we have to be the best. And then
Absolutely. Yes.
I was like, well, what does that mean? What does the best mean? Because Cape Cod is, that league is hollow ground and they have their place. Everybody has their place. So I think we shifted our thinking over the past year to be the most innovative league in the country, right? And what does that mean? So we've had banana ball come out of our league. We've had cosmic baseball come out of our league. We now have an all
I didn't know
Australian
that.
team playing in our league. So yeah, we have a lot of people that have gone on to Major League Baseball and the pros, and even Russell Wilson went into the NFL and he played with us. So it's a pathway for a lot of different things. Actually, last year we had people drafted to professional ball, a lot of them.
Mhm.
We had people drafted to banana ball, and we actually had our first female player in the league, and she was drafted to the women's professional baseball league. So we
Who
had
was it?
Alexia George,
Ah,
catcher.
yeah,
So
because
she,
I did some coverage on the women's baseball league, and I was like that I can't wait for that to come out.
yeah. So we just want to do it a little bit differently. We want to have an opportunity for everybody to come out and play baseball and grow. Right? There's always two sides to it. You asked how did we get started? It's actually
Mhm.
30 years ago. Jerry Pettit had an idea to bring baseball back to a lot of the local communities in North Carolina, and that's how it started. Actually, was affiliated ball back when in the 40s and 50s, the Coastal Plain League was, and then that went away. Then it was revived by Jerry and a couple other folks, and Justin, who is not able to make it today, the deputy commissioner, and but he's been with the league for I think 26 or 27 of those years.
Oh
So he
wow,
started as an intern and has been here for a very long time, has a lot of history.
wow! I didn't know any of this. This is amazing.
While we're talking,
Yeah, that's why we're talking.
while we're
Because
talking.
there's so many beyond there's so much beyond minor and major league baseball that I have not seen, and I will love to step forth into an indie game. And I think what's my closest team? It's either I think it's Lexington, South Carolina. And
What's
I was trying to get a hold of the owner of that team onto the show because I wanted to, touch base and be like, okay, what will get me to go to Lexington?
Yeah,
You
so
know?
Bill would be a good one to talk to. So Bill actually owns some minor league teams, and then
Mhm.
he now owns the summer collegiate team. He's the Blowfish, and
Yes.
he's got the ties into Hootie and the Blowfish because they're there in South Carolina and actually do a really nice event every year
Gotcha.
for their local hospital. So he did, but he's fascinating because he's been on both sides of that, right? That's a really good perspective that he has. He's kind of the statesman in our ownership group, where he has a lot of wise words and a lot of history to talk about.
Ooh, I like history. I really do. um, I spoke with one of the owners, well, the president, Brandon Raphael, the owner of the Making
He's also
Bacon.
the owner. Yeah,
Oh, he is the owner. Okay,
he
president
bought
owner.
the team a couple years ago, along with a group of people. But he's one of the owners. Yeah,
He was really nice. Oh my
he's
goodness, he
fantastic.
was like ecstatic that I contacted him,
Yeah, that
and that was a great interview. I'm like, oh, if you don't know, check it out. Check it out.
he is.
It's
He
on
runs.
available.
He runs one of the best operators we have, if not the best. He's fantastic. He knows how to get the crowd involved. He knows what they come out for. He's got the enthusiasm. It's all about the fan experience. He gets it. He truly gets it and packs those stands. And that was, I think it's one of our. It's our largest venue. I don't know if it's still the largest now that we have Zebulon coming on, but they'll be about the same size eventually, around 4,000 plus.
Mm-hmm. When I talked with Brandon, he told me that, you know, as a baseball traditionalist that I am, and he is, he explained that it's more than just going to the ball game and watching the game. This is an entertainment experience.
Yeah.
And he brought a lot to the table on that. And he shared insight of what to make the experience memorable. And that's what the Coastal Plain League does. Am I correct?
That's what we aim for. That's why you see things like Banana Ball and Cosmic Baseball come out, because we try to create a culture of creativity. How do you do it different? How do you make sure it's a lasting impression that makes people want to come back again? What are we offering the fans to be a fan, right? There's a lot of baseball. You know that. Particularly in
absolutely.
there's a ton of baseball. So what makes you different? Why should they come see you? Why could they come see your team? And so that's what you got to answer. If you can answer that question, you'll be successful.
And what other teams in the Coastal Plain League are coming up with new concepts? I already spoke with the Bacon. I'm not entirely familiar with the other teams. I'm going to get to Zebulon in a moment. But what other uniqueness on different teams besides the Cosmic Baseball and the Bananas? They've grown to a whole nother beast itself, pretty much.
They have, and so they got out of the league because they had other things that they were going to go and do, and they have.
Yes.
So everybody has their different twist on it. Everybody, and it really depends on the market too, because they play into what the people in the market want to see and want to be part of. So a good one that may be more flashy than other ones would be Tri-City, because they've done Cosmic Baseball. Have you seen any of that Cosmic Baseball?
I've seen it on social media, but I didn't like go in depth into it.
So so they're touring.
Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so Chris started it with this idea, and he's like, I might be crazy, but I think we can play baseball in the dark. And so he had this concept of basically the black light when you were a kid, and then you had it in your room, and now you can see the ball, you can see parts of the players, you can see the bat, you can see, so he put this all together, and it was an incredible leap of faith on his part, because there was a lot of investment needed, because you got to create the lighting system that enables you to play in the dark, this glow in the dark baseball. And you had to get people to come along and believe in you and what you're selling. And Chris is, I think most people would follow Chris anywhere. He's a super creative guy. But so he starts this thing, and now I think he's on the road. I haven't talked to him in a couple of weeks, but it's 40-something shows in other ballparks coming up this year.
Unbelievable.
Right? He's followed a little bit of that path of what the Bananas did, as far as taking that entertainment and blowing it up and making it more than just a baseball game. And clearly, when people vote with their dollars and they're coming out to see the Bananas, there's a thirst for entertainment, and if it's centered around baseball, even better.
I followed Jesse Cole's journey when the ball club came in inception. Was it 2017? I don't remember what year it was when they were Collegiate. It was either
I think
20,
it was that, but
it was probably I think it was either 2016 or 2017, one of the two,
something around there,
around that ballpark. And he always had the motto "fans first," and that's why I heard from Brandon as well, fans first. And he wanted to make an experience. It doesn't matter who's winning or who's losing. It's what can you make an experience for the fans, which is reinventing the wheel, technically. Now with them, there might be a possibility in Major League Baseball that they might, take a little bit out of the Bananas book, and one of them was in particular the Golden Bat Rule, and people are having a field day with this. Since you're independent collegiate, not affiliated with Major League Baseball, do you have any type of different rules or different, methods of the game?
Yeah, we've stuck primarily along the NCAA rules, and because we're still, there's two parts of summer baseball. One, you want to get the players, this is part of their path, and a lot of them are trying to get to the next level, and the next level has kind of changed too in our scope. So previously it was I want to get to the next level, I want to be drafted. Like that was always the thing. And I think now, because of the portal has changed so much with baseball in college, that it's really almost, there's a minor league baseball system type of thing in college baseball now, where you have guys that may start out a 2-year institution and work their way up every year, moving a team and get to a Power 4 school, right? That can now happen, and then you're now getting paid to go play baseball in college. And so that's where you fall in and you try to figure out, how does that fit? So you got the baseball side of it, which is really important. You can't lose sight of that. As much as we are about entertainment, we're equally as about getting the opportunities for players to get better, to get their reps, and to face competition that is really good. So that shouldn't get lost in it. And you start tweaking those rules a lot. And it doesn't mean that we can't, right? And you can. And maybe there's some rules we can stick in that make it a little bit more fun for the viewer. But it really is also about those two things, right? You got to make sure the players are getting what they need to get out to the next level.
Speaking of NIL, does it make it harder to recruit players from colleges, or is it just both opportunity? I'm new to the whole NIL thing.
Yeah,
I've heard the good and I've heard the bad of it.
Yeah, there's a reckoning coming at some point to kind of give us some guardrails, because it's pretty open right now. I think the bigger thing would be the portal, right? There's very few rules around the portal, and so coaches, rightfully so, wrongfully so, I don't know, it depends on what side you take, are sometimes very hesitant to send their players out. They would rather them stay on campus, do their weight program there, get their reps there, not get necessarily live action, but just do pitching sessions or whatever the case may be, because they're afraid they're going to go out and meet another guy and they're like, man, we would be awesome together. You should come play on my team. And so then they jump in the portal and they take off. So that's the bigger challenge is the portal to me. NIL's tough, and NIL's is going to be very tough within the summer ball constraints, because the money's got to come from somewhere. So where does it come from? We are, I think, one of 2 teams one of 2 leagues that do not charge players to come play in the league, right? That is something we've said, well, does it matter if we charge? Don't matter. So we've got to make money by actually putting on a good entertainment show, not just getting the good players. So we have to look at all that and see how it fits in. But the NIL's got to come from somewhere.
Yes.
And if it's coming from somewhere, it's probably coming away from your sponsorship dollars. And so it's just, you're now just changing out money. And then again, you gotta make the business work. Otherwise you're not going to succeed. So that factors into it. So NIL is tougher on a summer league perspective. I would gather to say most leagues would say the same thing. It's a tougher deal. There's just they're not there for very long. So you don't get to know them in the community. They're not people for years. So you can't just say, oh, Jimmy's back again, and so he's the face of our organization. He's been here for 3 years, type of thing. That's just not how it works.
That's sad to hear. That is. So I'm gonna go into this is really what got me into the Coastal Play League and asking questions about it. The Zebulon Devil Dogs.
Yes.
Their concept is something I thought was innovative, because not only that they're honoring that community, but the recruitment process internationally. They partnered with an organization in order to bring Australian collegiate players into the league for exposure.
Yeah.
My question to you is, do you see more international relationships, or how did that process work with gaining international relationships?
Well, so there's a couple of questions in there.
Yes.
So I'll answer the first one. How did this get going?
Yes.
It was actually a call. So Osball is the group that we're working with that actually gets the players, and they're here in the United States. And so I think if I remember the numbers right, there's 121 Australians playing American college baseball this year.
Okay.
Right. So that's a good number to start with. And so they called over, I think their first conversation was actually with Chris up in Tri-City and said, hey, we'd like to come over and play you a game or two.
Mm-hmm.
And he forwarded it on to Justin, who said, oh, well, what if you played a bunch of teams? And he and I started talking like, what if they were a team? Right. So we pitched the idea to him. We said, well, instead of just coming and playing 8 to 10 games, why don't you come and play full season? And they were like, man, that would be awesome. Right. They were all in typical Australian mate style, right? They were like, yes, we're going to do this. So it was a really easy conversation, and those guys are fantastic to work with. They are, I think there's the way it breaks down. Their group does travel ball. They're probably one of 3 in Australia, one of the big 3. And so they are recruiting players to come play on that team. I think we have our roster mostly filled out for that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So they got a lot going on. And so to your next question is, I would love to see this turn into several teams have, whether it's the Kiwis or it's Italy or it's right. And so then I start to envision of how do we take this league and make it opportunities for these players to get more exposure for their national team. So when you have at the upcoming the Baseball World Classic is happening, how do we integrate those guys to start them getting to be more of a unit as a nation, right? And then they can start playing each other, and you could almost have this system of international teams playing all the time and having some great games.
Because I see different countries. I'm actually working with one right now. If you listen to my series, I've been doing a series, and I couldn't believe I did part 3. I've done the impact of baseball in South Africa.
Yeah,
and it was a simple post on Facebook on a group. I said, if you can, answer some questions for me about how the impact of baseball for you has been in this country, email me, WhatsApp me, whatever. Let's see. I got one that played in the World Baseball Classic. Number 2 has an actual baseball academy that's trying to basically get their own, not only structure, like their own building, but to have an actual baseball stadium, because they're just playing on rugby sidelines pretty much. So that's a huge envision. And then the third one is a coach that is also trying to run an academy, a big time coach, and he basically considers baseball like his godsend. And he brings a lot of influence to that area. And he was at first hesitant to talk to me. And then after a while, we spent like an hour talking. And it was amazing. So I see South Africa as one of the pedestals, because they have been in the World Baseball Classic, and the demand is there, and I'm seeing it, and I want to be one of those voices, because I'm rooted out there too, believe it or not, to prosper pretty much.
It's growing the game of baseball. There's a lot of ways to do it, and that's a fantastic way of doing it.
Absolutely, yes. What was I going to say? Last question, and I have my money for it. I have my money for it. Expansion. How does that work?
It's a good question, and it's a very different one within. I guess it's kind of the same. It's just the different parameters than you would with a major league club, right? We're looking for markets that are a certain size, and when I say a certain size, I don't mean too big or too small. It's kind of a good sized market where there's enough people to support it, but you also don't have, we don't necessarily, our model isn't to necessarily go up against minor league teams. So if there's not a team in that market, that's not really desirable for us. because
Gotcha. Okay.
but people will pick, and you don't want to be in that fight with somebody with a lot more money and a much larger stadium type of thing. So so you look for the markets. You look for good travel partners. So you currently have your map of our 15. We have 16 teams. One of them is going to be dormant, the Tobs, which was one of the original 6, and this goes into the play. So the Wilson Tobs have now moved and announced they're moving to Smithfield, which is not too far down the road, but it's farther away. There was a couple things that happened, but the biggest thing that happened was that our friends, the Mudcats, they moved and got a new stadium built in Wilson. And so, right, Wilson is not an enormous market. And so it was time for the Tops to go get, they had stadium issues. The town wasn't willing to put money back into that stadium that they were using. So it all worked out, right? So now they're in a really good place. We've got a new stadium being built. And that goes into, what do we look for? We look for a town that is interested in helping build a stadium, interested in building a kind of a community gathering place, because these places aren't just baseball stadiums. You want to use them most of the year round, right? They are places for the community to gather. That just happens to be one of the things that happens there.
Sorry about that.
Right?
Oh, no, I'm okay. I just have a miserable cough. I've been sick for the last few days, so I do apologize.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Anderson, so the one idea I had, and you just definitely nip it in the bud, the one I thought of right off the bat in this area was Anderson, South Carolina. But you got Greenville, you have Spartanburg, you have Asheville as minor league teams.
Actually, I don't know if you knew this, so you may not, because you mentioned it earlier. The Spartanburgers. That was actually a team in the CPL, and we were in Spartanburg. Yep, and that was the name. And I think the owners ended up selling the rights to the new current owners, the Spartanburgers.
Actually, one of my caps that I did a custom. I did a Texas Rangers hat, Mother's Day hat, and I actually got the original S from the original Spartanburgers on it.
Yeah,
and because it told the story. And I remember going to the very first Spartanburgers game, and everyone was asking me a question: "How'd you get this done?" And I'm like, I had a friend make it for me, and it got so many eyes towards it.
Yeah,
it was like, "You're honoring the legacy." I said, "Absolutely." So I thought about it. I was like, if I had the money, I have my whole $3 right here. I could that I could invest into seeing if the reason why I was thinking Anderson, I didn't know they had a big minor league history years ago.
Yeah,
and that stadium is still standing, and they have Anderson University playing there. So who would think? So that gives me more insight of how that process works. So is there any, besides the Smithfield team and the Zebulon team, is there any other potentials that are coming in the future?
We've been working on 3 other sites and these can take up to 2-3 years, 4 years to get.
That makes sense.
So yeah, we've got 3 more that we're hopeful on, that we think that we can pull off at least 2 of them. And that would be good. We're still looking for some. One of them would be down in South Carolina. I still want to find some more teaser for you. I'd like to see find some in Georgia. That would help our good friends Macon, who you now know.
Yes.
Right. They need some travel partners, and that's been a little bit tougher nut to crack. So we'll continue to work in that area.
Is it possible to tell me which ones in South Carolina and Georgia?
No,
I gotta figure.
Nothing's firm, and you don't ever want to jinx it.
That is true. I understand that completely. That's why I was like, let me see if I can slide that in. Got it. Tip. Thank you so much. I do apologize for my cough. It's been rough, but since I'm behind a computer, I'm like, I could see if I can make this work. But I do appreciate it, your time. Stick around for a second. Just wanted to talk to you about something, and I really do appreciate your time, and I will send you a copy of this episode.
Awesome. I really appreciate you having me on. Thanks, Greg.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
Thank you for watching and listening to Stadium BS. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, and give a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform.